A war in the Middle East is sending shockwaves through the global economy. The escalating conflict involving the United States, Israel, and Iran is disrupting some of the most important trade routes in the world. At the center of this disruption lies the Strait of Hormuz, one of the most critical maritime choke points in global trade. Every day, roughly 20 million barrels of oil pass through this narrow corridor. This represents about 20% of global oil consumption. Nearly 27% of global seaborne oil trade also passes through the Strait of Hormuz. Around 20% of the world's liquefied natural gas trade moves through this corridor as well. When conflict threatens this route, the consequences ripple across global shipping, energy markets, and national economies. The Strait of Hormuz connects the Persian Gulf to the Arabian Sea and the wider global economy. Although the channel is only about 33 kilometers wide at its narrowest point, it handles one of the largest volumes of energy trade in the world. Oil tankers from Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Kuwait, and the United Arab Emirates must pass through this corridor before reaching global markets. Because maritime transport carries nearly 90% of global trade, disruptions in major shipping corridors can quickly destabilize the global economy. As tensions escalate, maritime transport in the region has become increasingly risky. Military threats and attacks on vessels have forced shipping companies to reconsider operating in the area. Some vessels are now avoiding the region entirely and rerouting their journeys. Avoiding the Strait of Hormuz can add between 10 and 20 days to shipping travel times. Longer travel times increase fuel costs, insurance costs, and freight prices. Some reports suggest shipping costs have increased by as much as 40 to 50% on affected routes. Energy markets are often the first to react to geopolitical conflict. Because such a large share of the world's oil flows through the Strait of Hormuz, disruptions quickly create supply fears. Analysts warn that disruptions could remove millions of barrels of oil per day from global supply. Higher oil prices affect almost every sector of the global economy. Transportation becomes more expensive. Manufacturing costs increase. Electricity production becomes more costly. This often leads to rising inflation across many countries. Maritime transport is the backbone of global trade. About 90% of global trade is transported by sea. When shipping routes become unstable, supply chains across the world are affected. Delayed shipments slow production and increase the cost of goods. These higher costs are eventually passed on to consumers. Although conflict is happening thousands of kilometers away, the economic effects can still reach South Africa. South Africa relies heavily on imported oil and fuel products. When global oil prices rise, domestic fuel prices usually increase as well. Higher fuel prices increase transport costs across the economy. They also increase the cost of producing and delivering food and other essential goods. South Africa also depends heavily on maritime trade through major ports such as Durban, Cape Town, and Nkura. If global shipping costs rise, South African exporters and importers face higher logistics expenses. Global economic uncertainty can also reduce demand for South African exports. This can affect commodity prices, government revenues, and economic growth. The US-Israel-Iran war is therefore not only a geopolitical crisis, it is also a major economic shock affecting global trade and energy markets. By threatening one of the world's most important maritime corridors, the conflict is disrupting shipping routes and driving energy price volatility. For countries like South Africa, the effects may appear through higher fuel prices, rising inflation, and more expensive global trade. In an interconnected world, events in one region can quickly reshape economic realities across the entire globe.